Today, it is estimated that 85% of people around the globe identify with the religion or spiritual tradition, and faith continues to be one of the strongest motivators that human beings have. Therefore, engaging with religious leaders and communities when promoting response efforts from climate-related conflicts is key to impactful change. This episode is Rooted in Peace, Interfaith Responses to Climate-Induced Violence, where we talked with religious actors from Mozambique, Nigeria, Cameroon, and India to address best practices when implementing response strategies.
I'm Zelda Cristina Costa. I'm a pastor at the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Mozambique. I was ordained in 2017. I'm currently serving at the Christian Council of Mozambique.
My name is Ijoma Stephanie Ladele, the Executive Director, Environmental Conflict Mediation and Women Development Initiative based in Ibadan, Nigeria. How I started my work in climate change and mediation. Aside from the fact that I read environmental resource management as a first degree, and I went in to read peace and conflict resolution at a postgraduate diploma, and I went further to do masters in peace and conflict studies.
So we also use some scriptures, Bible scriptures, such as the book of Isaiah 45, verse 18. We also bring in the stories of creation from the book of Genesis in our work that we do on climate change and so forth.
Looking at environmental stewardship and climate change issues, even in the Bible, the book of Genesis 2:15, God has given us as humans, to take charge in the Garden of Eden, to walk and to take care of it.
My name is Yakin Skandar. I am originally from Kashmir, India, and currently I'm based in Istanbul, Turkey. I am doing my PhD in clinical psychology here. So by profession, I'm a psychotherapist, and also I'm an activist for different social causes that includes peace, justice, as well as conflict resolution. At the core of the Islamic faith, that we believe that we are the Khalifa or the vicegerents of God. We have this guardianship that Allah has given us upon this earth. In other words, we believe in hereafter, right? But it also talks about, in our faith of Islam, it also talks about the concept of amana, which is the idea of trust, that Allah has given you a trust, and nature is a part of that. And conserving nature is a part of that.
My name is Augusta Muzita. I am a reverend from Church of Nazarene. I'm working at Christian Council of Mozambique as program manager.
My name is Ibrahim Jagra. I'm from far north region of Cameroon, the most affected zone by the crisis of Boko Haram. In the far north region, there is a lot of migration. There is a lot of refugees coming from Nigeria, coming from the north parts of Chad, and some coming from Niger. In my tradition, where there is not raining, maybe there is an issue of wind, maybe a sign of the climate change. They say, no, it is God. It is God. This one, let us pray, and it is God. Yeah. But we say to the local community and to traditional leader and religious leader to say, yes, it is God. But we too, in our mind, in our daily life, we have to work to tackle the situation.
In Mozambique, one of the main causes of the climate change, deforestation of trees, exploitation of natural resources, and also the emission of greenhouse gases by industries, and automobiles or cars in Mozambique and other neighboring countries. CCM also has been organizing the cleanup campaigns on beaches, surround the beaches, and schools, and teaching children how to take care of garbage to promote good environmental management.
My context, Nigeria, is flooding. See, flooding has ravaged a lot of regions. In terms of project implementation and intervention, most of what we have done is actually on awareness creation and also having conversation around, how faith-based can come together in addressing the issues of climate change.
Being born and raised in Kashmir, and we saw a lot of a fair share of conflict. So that's where it all started. So I think one of the drivers here about conflicts which are climate-induced would be the scarcity of the resources. They drive a conflict. In Kashmir, for example, we have natural water which comes from the glaciers, and there are dams which provide electricity to a huge belt in the North India. I've been a faith-based activist since 2010. And in 2014, Kashmir had these devastating floods, which displaced thousands and thousands of people, including the main city that we have, the city of Srinagar. And I was active. Those days I was doing my bachelor's degree in Malaysia, but I was active in coordinating the efforts in Kashmir, like, relief. We have to understand that what really drives these conflicts, which are actually climate-induced. And sometimes reality is we don't even realize that they're climate-induced conflict. The stakeholders, and especially the leaders of the faith, have a huge hold, through the mosques and through other places where they can mobilize people. And what often does not get talked about is how much our religion emphasizes the climate. I started this initiative called Camp Peace because I love camping, going out in the nature, but how can it also lead to peace and conflict resolution? So the idea of this project was, at that time, my master's thesis was also about Syrian refugees, right? And I wanted to bring together, the Turkish people as well as refugees who share a common faith, by the way. But then these differences which are there, what about if we just address them in a neutral space? Because generally, if you address it, let's say in a mosque or a church, it's not always considered neutral by all the parties. But nature is everybody's, right? So why don't we camp in the open space, promote this respect for the environment, where you would have to be responsible for yourself, and how do you camp, how do you conserve the environment, while as in this open space you also talk about faith and its role. So I think that has been my start and my continuation of this project and the activism.
When the situation of Boko Haram started in Nigeria, and create a lot of destabilization of the community, and some of them joined Cameroon to get a better life. But during this migration, a lot of members of Boko Haram have also transit to Cameroon and start to create another problem again. But how the climate initiative, the environmental initiative come and enter inside of this situation? In the situation of migration of the community, there is a lot of movement. Community have been displaced internally and externally, especially refugees. on that situation of addressing of the believing of the climate change initiative, we built and addressed a very big and major project. We call it Bricks of Hope. Bricks of Hope, it is, yes, Bricks of Hope is an initiative rebuilding life through the ecological initiative. When we see our ecosystem, since this problem of Boko Haram starts, since this conflict starts, we have been destabilized. Our ecosystem have been destabilized because a lot of community have been displaced. A lot of ecosystem have been destabilized. This is why we call Brick of Soap, and we bring together the people that very, very resistant about the issue of the climate change, because they are not trust on that climate change. This is why even now, every year, like the first of the month of August, we are organizing a big campaign about the climate change. We are organizing the events, planting trees, advocacy around the government to make them organize the ecological initiative. This is how we bring together religious and understanding of this challenge of climate change.
One of the things, or a few things, that can be done by these religious actors as such is promoting sustainable practices, right? Teaching people, teaching community engagement, the significance that they hold and the influence that they have in the community, especially in spiritual communities like Kashmir or Muslim communities in Turkey, for example. It is huge and it cannot be ignored.
For this past 5 years, every year we experience a lot of cyclones. We as faith leaders, we need really to support our communities. When they do this, they will also be able to promote or to have a better life.
The religious leaders within and out of the Christian Council, because we have member churches. Christian Council is formed of member churches in Mozambique, especially the mainliners. They are part of Christian councils, have a wide approximately to communities we are more close to the communities, especially those in risk areas. This allows the action to be articulated to mitigate the impact and prevent the risk of that yearly disasters, integrating communities within the safe areas and enabling them to become more resilient.
I think it's important to continue engagement, with them in terms of education, awareness, and community resilience. When I look at the roles that religious actors play, they are key actors in all forms of development and in all forms of issues, within an environment. Bringing it to this climate change issues, it's important to have them trained, their capacities built in mediating conflicts within the community. So they are very good advocates of climate justice.
Honestly, my vision for the environmental and conflict action, it is to bring together all these key stakeholders of the community, like religious leaders, traditional leaders, political leaders, to work together on that issue. Because when we are talking about this situation, it is on the grassroots. It is the issue of conflict, the issue of impact of environment. It is a grassroots initiative. It is a grassroots problem.
Faith is one of the strongest motivators that human beings have. And it's one of the strongest motivators when it comes to human action. And if we fail to engage religious leaders and religious tradition as a whole in climate action, we are going to miss out on one of the most powerful tools of change. When we talk about climate or we talk about climate justice, it's just not a scientific or an economic issue as well. It's also a moral and a spiritual issue. So we would have to build policies that recognize faith communities as their allies. So not just these afterthoughts, but actually as allies. And that's how we can fight for a sustainable and a just world.